promotion going on at the particular time I was recording. But I think this is the last thing that I've recorded, which reminds me, I gotta go play more MadRatDead so I actually can commentate more episodes. But at least, video length-wise, things should be a little more consistent. Maybe even a little on the longer side. We'll see. Anyways, synopsis of everything that just happened on screen. They're just talking about how rats run away from cats instinctively and cats chase rats instinctively. So the fact that there's rats approaching cats because they think they're cheese, there's something wrong with the cycle. And it only brings up the mysteries. Maybe even a disease or something that's actually causing the rats to behave this way. Perhaps we'll learn more about that as we progress throughout the adventure. Looks like our kitty friend wanted to thank MadRat personally, but he left a little too soon. Oh well, I'm sure the message will get relayed eventually. That said, besides the usual of wonderful music, kind of pleasantly to fit the theme of how we're feeling right now in the adventure, there isn't really too much in particular I can think happens in this level, at least out of the ordinary. So this makes for a perfect time for another tangent, with possible random interruptions when I know something in the gameplay. Like how in the last episode I talked about how early on I had interest in game design, but I kind of was a little vague on specific examples of things I did. Again, a lot of pen and paper stuff, but I figured I could elaborate and tell some stories about the types of things I made. I know I brought it up way back when I did the Pikmin Let's Play, but I don't remember what stories I've mentioned and which ones I haven't, so apologies if there's a little repeat in those particular stories. It was so long ago that it was inevitable that that story was going to come up again someday. It's hard to remember what came first, but some of the earliest pen and paper RPGs I can remember was in relation to like a Pikachu Bros adventure. Kinda maybe Mario Luigi style, but like for pen and paper, obviously like action commands and things like that didn't translate. Just the concept of two Pichus going on an adventure together. I don't know what it was about that particular Pokemon short from way back in the day. I forget even what Pokemon movie they debuted the Pichu Bros short with. Because a lot of my memories of the Pichu Bros was with what they did in Pokemon Channel in particular. If you don't know what Pokemon Channel is, I don't blame ya. You may be more familiar with Hey You Pikachu. And that's basically what Pokemon Channel is, Hey You Pikachu. But instead of a microphone that you can talk to Pikachu and pretend that he's actually listening to what you're saying, you sit around and watch television. Well, everyone likes to make that joke. But if you look at it a little more seriously, there's about as much open in the world interacting with Pikachu, or at least having Pikachu follow you around and interact with other Pokemon, as there is watching television. Like, it's kind of like how in the original Hey You Pikachu, there's like a section that you hanging out and watch TV on. That portion of Hey You Pikachu is just a lot more elaborated in Pokemon Channel. Besides that, and the lack of a microphone, despite the fact that GameCube did have a microphone, just not implemented with the Pokemon Channel. And it actually played out similarly to Hey You Pikachu. Okay, sorry, tangent within a tangent. Only reason I brought up Pokemon Channel was one of the things that you could watch on the television was a mini-series of the same Pichus from that particular short from one of the Pokemon movies that I can't remember which one it is. All I remember is not the first, because Pikachu's Vacation is just too iconic to forget where it came from. But even though I feel like the Pichu Bros is probably my favorite Pokemon short, out of like the 2 or 3 that I can actually remember. And it must have had some impact on me because it did inspire a lot of pen and paper RPGs, and they even made a Game Maker game out of it. Back when I actually did stuff with Game Maker. Shoutouts to the Homing Attack, doing his usual shenanigans. Huzzah! And as I mentioned I would promise to start doing every time I complain about the Homing Attack, this game is amazing conceptually. Don't let me convince you otherwise. Anyways, Pichu Bros. Yeah, there was a period of time that I worked with Game Maker back when there was no Game Maker 2, and the original Game Maker Studio was what was there. I didn't even bother to learn the programming, I was just doing the drag and click stuff of it. Because right around the college time, like maybe a little beforehand, and I think there's also a period of time I kind of like lapsed back onto Game Maker when like even like Visual Basic Studio was too complex on me. Well, game got me there. And there. Well played, game. And there. Tangenting from games, I think I even did a stream there was a time period just for the lulz. I decided to try to dig up as many of my old Game Maker games. I think they're like 5 to 10 years old at this point, which is crazy. Because I remember doing those in like late childhood, if not early adulthood, so that just makes me feel old to say it like that. VOD's up on the YouTube channel if you're curious, but I can give you a basic summary of what the Pichu game was. It was a puzzle maze explorer where you basically had to take the two Pichus through a maze, and they both followed you. Following AI is very basic. Technically, it's not really an AI, they just both moved at the same time when you did a button input, which led to some pretty awkward situations, but it was one of the earlier games I made, so I don't look at myself too harshly for it. At least I tried. Which is more than I can say about adult me sometimes. Anyways, getting off the self-detrimental states I might be in. That was a fun stage, and I did really good! Awesome! Speaking of this game, I kind of feel like this is a good time to emphasize just how good the story's starting to get. We're seeing MadRat grow as a character, we're seeing him have self-reflection, questioning himself, and better trying to understand himself. Meanwhile, Heart's continuing to be a good friend, supporting MadRat along the way, positive reinforcements, or maybe he just actually likes cats. Kinda weird for a heart of a rat to like cats, but hey, it's a video game. Why not? You know, I'm not sure if there's really anything left to talk about with this cutscene, so I'm gonna get this out of the way now. I feel it's the proper time to give another graphical warning. And this is not just a one-time blood splatter like the last one. Just gonna say that. You might want to look away until this cutscene ends, depending on the levels of blood and gore that concern you. I'm warning you, it's not just a blood splatter. I'm sorry. Let's do it. Dang it, me, you're ruining the dramatic tension. You know what? I need an excuse to get back into commentary, so this works. Yeah? The cutscene gave us our cue. We have a mission. It's a race against time. We gotta get back there much faster than we came the first time around, in order to get there before the accident happens. An interesting concept, a good excuse to replay literally the same level again, but with a different song and tempo. They do a few minor things I think to spice it up, like I think there's more enemies that you have to dodge along the way, but beyond that, yeah, it's the same level, so if you're not a fan of video games coming up with excuses to make you repeat for the same areas more than once, you probably won't be a fan of this level. And usually I'm not a fan of that particular gimmick, but I'm willing to excuse it for this game because 1, the narrative gives you a very solid reason for doing it. 2, because the way MadRatDead works, changing a song really is enough to really change the whole flow of a level, even if you are going through the same environments and set pieces. And going through it at a faster rate certainly does make it more challenging, case in point. Like I said in the past, the fact you can fluctuate and put any song in any stage does add a lot of replayability to the stage itself. Makes it a little awkward for this when it's technically 2 different stages, even though it's the same set piece twice in a row, because you're literally just turning back the clock in order to get a little more time to actually be able to save that little girl before her unfortunate demise. But I'm still gonna take the opportunity to come up with an excuse to praise the stage select, especially considering I still am overdue to actually praise the good things about this game for every time I've ever complained about the controls, including homing attacks. Not that that was a homing attack excuse. It'd be a John to say that it was anything beyond my own skill. Maybe a little too fast-paced, but that's probably more likely on my end than the game's. Again, going through this song at a faster tempo certainly does make it a lot more challenging, and you can add this challenge to any sort of stage you want by going into the stage select and picking a high star rated level. Not a highly rated level, mind you. A high star level, because like a 5-star difficulty, not necessarily a 5-star review. Though to break away from echoing things, I don't think I ever did mention the quote-unquote hard mode that they have in the stage select. I don't think it's story related, but there is a higher difficulty where you actually have to play the songs in double time instead of the normal song tempo. Where I forget exactly what it's called in musical terms, but you're playing on like maybe the half beats they call it, as well as the main tempo. That stuff is real hard. You think like going through these stages is a challenge in of itself? Just try to play even the most basic song in this game on a halftime melody, and it's nuts. I don't know if there's anyone that actually would voluntarily want to go through an entire playthrough of the game that way. So it is a good thing that it's optional. And hey, the challenge is there if that's what you really wanted to have. I know I'm more than content with just playing through the stage as is. That said, I kind of went through a bit more of the game. Let's see what I did wrong there. Honestly, a little too close for my comfort, but I just come to expect it with the way that this stage has been playing out so far. That was dumb, and I'm just graceful that I wasn't punished for it accordingly. It's like I don't even really have time to get on a tangent at this point because we're almost at the end of the stage. I just hope that it's enough to actually get there in time. Definitely got through here a lot faster than we did the first time, I believe. I mean, not counting all the times that we did the space-time warp to make up for the moments that we die. There she is. I'm assuming that she's still alive. Yeah? I don't know what MadRat's gonna do, but MadRat's gotta do something and gotta do it now. Whew. Right at the buzzard. Not sure there's really anything I can add, so hopefully you don't mind if I just let the cutscene play out for once. That's sweet. Wait, it just clicked to me. Was that a song that they used that was not part of the soundtrack? Like a song that they made exclusively for a cutscene? Why don't they do that more often? Between that and just having the music stop and be in silence, I guess it couldn't work for every single scene, but it really worked for that one. Who knows, maybe if they did that more often, the cutscenes wouldn't feel like they dragged on when it's just the first 10 seconds of the upcoming song on loop. It's kind of ironic because I know I talked about possibly doing that to improve the cutscenes earlier on in the playthrough, and well, you know they did. I just didn't remember it from the first time I played that particular scene on my own time. Then again, with everything dramatic going on in that scene, and it would have completely killed the tone of the game to just have the first 10 seconds of this song in particular play over that sort of sentimental thing. But I think I was just talking about that last part where the cutscene doesn't really feel like it fits the mood, and what's going on in the music doesn't match up with what's going on in the scene. Not to say that there's times that they pulled it off, having that little loop before a stage begins carry the cutscenes, especially for the shorter ones. But again, that past scene just made me realize how much more they could do to make the presentation of the game even more enjoyable. That said, I think I should focus a little bit on what is already enjoyable with the presentation. Like, man, that cutscene was just solid, sweet, and even a tiny bit philosophical. Philosophical? I think that's how you're actually supposed to pronounce it. Maybe it's too universal to be considered philosophical, but it's a good lesson to learn. Like, I could see that whole phrase of MadRat saying of just, you're too young to die, you're gonna live a long life, be good, and whatever else he said. Shoot, I was just talking about how good it was, and I already forgot the exact phrasing of the quote. But point being, I can see someone posting that to Video Game Life Advice or a Twitter account like that, and then sneaking its way in there. That's what I more so mean, it's just it being a solid line. And oh boy, I haven't even talked about the music yet, because as far as I'm concerned, it's perfect for this level. Not necessarily my favorite song in the game, but I can think of a better song to put to a level like this that perceives everything that just happened. It just has a sense of peace and tranquility, but enough energy to make you feel really prideful of what you just did. Like, you saved someone's life. That's good. That's something you should be proud about. And you definitely get that feel from the song. And everything with the sound design leading up to it only gives more power to the song that we're listening to right now. Now, if only I had as solid of a grasp of the controls to this game as I do to the sound design and theory revolving around it. At least I presume. At least I can blame it more on myself than on the game. Levels are getting harder, so deaths being more frequent is an inevitability. Wish I knew a way to not get stuck in that scenario that I was in. Felt like there wasn't really a good way to recover back from that besides going all the way back. But who knows, I might have been overlooking something. And we got the flow going now, so... do I have time for another tangent? Yeah, I think it's about safe if I I mean, it's not a level of MadRatDead until there's a scenario that I thought the homing attack would work. But alas, the game decided otherwise. Not quite sure how much more of a story time I can fit in the rest of this level, but I guess I could at least go over another quote-unquote pen-paper RPG I did. Like, another childhood idea that comes from my mind a lot was a Donkey Kong theme RPG. Like, I don't know how often I actually did it, but I do know it's just one of the things I remember actually, like, sketching out HP and stats in my sketchbook, and oh, my favorite kind of platforming in this game. Right behind the homing attack. Things that basically become trial and error. But there's no need to fixate on that. Another one of those things include like a Paper Mario themed Kirby game, which seems really weird and unorthodox at the time. But I think the way Kitme tried to brainstorm it out was Inhale would be a 2-turn ability. One turn they actually suck up the enemy, and then on your second turn you can either swallow it to get a copy ability, or spit it back out to hit an enemy behind the opponent. I think to keep it from being too broken, it would kind of play out kind of like how Kirby's copy ability would work in the Smash Bros. Game, where you don't like instantly destroy the enemy after you eat it, it just pops back out, taking a little bit of damage in the process. Now that I re-say this out loud, it seems like it could be kinda cool. It also reminds me of one of the only times I wrote a letter to Nintendo. Like, Kitme was like pretty excited at the time about the idea, so I actually wrote a letter to Nintendo talking about my Paper Kirby RPG idea. And what was even more neat was the fact that they actually responded back. Granted, I was a young child back then. Also, I was a child a long time ago, so the company itself could have been a lot different back then. Either way, it was before I was well aware of just what AAA game developers were like at the time. So I was ecstatic. The only downside was the letter they wrote back. Looking back on it these days, feels a bit generic. It's mostly just them saying, "Thanks for the cool idea, but for legal reasons, we can't actually take ideas from fans. In fact, like, we're not allowed, if a fan suggests something, we're not allowed to do it." Something along those lines. Who knows? I'm pretty sure I have that letter somewhere. I know I never threw it out, but I couldn't tell you where I stored it. If I do come across it someday, though, especially if people remind me, I'll post it on social or something. I doubt I'll even remember that I talk this in depth about Paper Kirby in this video. So I doubt I'll actually include it in the video itself. But that would, if I could find a way to do it that share that sort of thing that I was comfortable with, that would be a fun thing to share, I will be perfectly honest to admit. Though, thinking more about it, it's kind of ironic that I thought about Kirby taking on a Paper Mario theme, when these days it kind of feels like Paper Mario's taking more on of a Kirby theme. I swear there's method behind the madness of my analogy. I was thinking just in the concept that Kirby games tend to fluctuate between spin-off and core, to the point where, at least in the past, there was just as many Kirby spin-off games as there was core games. While modern Paper Mario does feel like it's a lot more experimental, than it used to be. Because classic versus modern Paper Mario is a whole discussion of itself that I know I don't have the time to get into. So I think like phrasing it like that will make both sides happy for now. Maybe someday I'll talk a little more about that. Good lord, this section of the level is a bit annoying. Doesn't help that I already struggle with homing attacks, but then you got these falling platforms that fall into the mix that if I do not only do it in the wrong order, but the bookcases are falling as I'm doing my dash or homing attack, I end up not being able to do neither. Someday we'll get to the end of the level. It's just on the other side of that platform, I swear. But I was the one that recorded this, and I couldn't even tell you how I got through that mess. Probably a lot of backtracking. Okay, wait, dash. Nope, and that's not it either. Let's try that one more time. Maybe here I'll be able to get it? Homing... Okay, that time... homing attack work. It's fine, it's fine. At least, I think if I time it right, I could just go under the enemy and not worry about making sure the homing attack works. Just like that. And just like that, that is the end of the level. Thank goodness. So as we watch MadRat and Hart have a little banter against each other, talking about just how good it feels to do good things, I think I'm gonna end it off here. So thanks again for tuning in to this edition of my playthrough of MadRatDead. Next time in our adventures, I guess we're gonna make our way to the lab still. A little surprised that with everything that's happened, he still has that vendetta. But who knows? So much has happened to this character, so much has changed about this character throughout the course of our adventure. Who knows how he's gonna feel by the time we actually reach the end. There's still time for him to grow. Until then though, take care.